Let's move on to Malignant.
So onto a movie with no politics whatsoever, with absolutely not much going on in its brain.
I'm gonna start off real quick by saying
This is Malignant by James Wan.
Yeah. First of all,
This movie,
James Wan is a lunatic, and I love him.
he's a lunatic. He's an absolute lunatic.
I love him to death. He does Fast 7, he does Aquaman, he does those Conjuring movies. That guy gets around.
I love this is essentially like this chapter break between us being like talking about the intellectual stuff, and now we just get to smile and just be like, anyway.
This movie, like Candyman, is not scary. I was not scared during this movie.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe I'm just a fucking I'm just too hard.
No. I think that this is not this may be Wan's least scary movie.
Yeah.
And I don't like Insidious, but I will say Insidious has a lot of creepy moments that are legitimately effective. And I think The Conjuring,
the first
despite
Conjuring has some
the
great scary
world that
moments.
it's created, which I think sucks, is an awesome horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's a kitchen sink horror movie where we're throwing everything in.
Yeah, it's good.
I
haven't heard about the new Conjuring. I heard it was.
He didn't direct it.
Yeah, I know he didn't direct it. I can't tell.
It's ending up. My problem with it is from a moral standpoint, where it's like now created the Warrens as these heroic characters, and
They're
what
frauds.
They're not only just con people, they were also serial abusers and like really shitty religious snake oil salesmen.
Well, are they getting paid for these movies?
They're dead.
Then I don't care about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I almost said Elizabeth Warren. the lady Warren was up until she died a few years ago.
Okay.
Because she was a consultant on those films. Because Ed Warren's been dead for a while now.
If you're getting paid, I have a moral problem with that now.
I think the kids are now the ones that keep up that spooky.
It's the problem. It's the problem with ghosts are real people, man. It really is. Anyway, because eventually someone's going to make a movie about it and you're trying to get paid. The Amityville Horror, it's all bullshit.
They'll do about, yeah. Well, yeah, we're
Literally
involved in
bullshit.
that. That was a bullshit movie.
A haunting in, I think, Connecticut or whatever. The kid was just sick, and when he got his medicine, he was better. They made a horror movie about it. Like, it's so built on such a house of sand. That's why I like horror movies that aren't so concerned with like, this is a real story, because it's always bullshit.
Right.
That's why I love Jeepers Creepers. It's not fucking real, and I love it. Like, I wish it was real. The world would be a more interesting place if that guy was out there.
Well, and also one of the things I love about Jeepers Creepers is its setting. It's very rural horror. It's very Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's made by a monster. That movie is made by a pedophile.
Yeah, that movie's made by a sex criminal. But I stand by that those movies are great.
Yeah. The first one is. I have bad memories of the second one. But
no, second one's great too.
Second one was tainted by when I watched it.
You need to watch it again.
Something dramatic happened while I was watching that movie with some friends, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't like that movie anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
I remember his bat wings came down and he ripped this football player's head off.
Yep.
And his muscly corpse was still kicking around.
Yep, it's great.
The first one, did you know?
Oh, there was a third one. Is bad. Watched it. Don't like it. It was made for like $100,000.
Yikes!
It was mostly because
Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, it was mostly made. Well, he had an idea for the third one or whatever, and I think it was like Film Canada or something. Got the fact that he had gone to, and in his defense, I guess not defense or whatever, but like he did go to jail and served his time. So like that is what it is or whatever. But like they got word that he went to jail for a sex crime or whatever, and that they didn't want him filming.
It's amazing that somehow they're able to hide that, and it's like you're like a fairly popular genre filmmaker. I could go on Wikipedia and find out he still has to be on a sex offender list.
Yeah,
but but that aside,
yeah, he also did a movie called Peaceful Warrior with Nick Nolte.
Was that him?
Yes, it's another weirdly kind of good movie that I like.
That's based on a book, right?
Yes, by Dan Millman.
Yeah, I didn't know he directed that.
Yes,
that's wild.
In between the Jeepers Creepers movies. Or is it after? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
No, it's after.
But
it's
now
after.
they're making a fourth one from this crazy Finnish director, and it's going to come out like in a few months.
Sure.
We haven't got a
I love rural horror. I love like that dusty, but it's got nothing to do with this.
Nothing to do with what we're talking about. But like it's nice when James Wan is making a movie like this, because I can kind of just, I don't have to use my brain as much.
No, of course not.
I don't have to use my brain at all in this movie. But I predicted everything about this movie. It's not hard to see what it is.
As I've told a couple people before, the movie gives you big clues about where it's going, and about the third time it does, you start saying, "There's no way. There's no way they're actually going there." Fuck, they go there in a big way to the point the movie comments on that they went there.
In like the second time, like
To quote one of the characters, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
and that is the movie saying, "Yeah, we went there."
I want to let you talk about it first.
Okay, yeah, because I've got a lot to. I've seen this movie twice already.
I don't even know if it's good. I don't even think I like it. I'm not sure, but like I'll let you talk. I don't know.
So, I want to. Obviously, first up, I recommend *Malignant*. I recommend it going in with knowing nothing at all.
I agree.
No, you cannot know a thing. This is another thing where trailers were just like, "What the hell is this movie about? Is it about an imaginary friend and all that?" It's like you have no idea where it's going. Yeah. It's a perfect campy Halloween movie. It's not scary. It is more stylistic.
There are two parts that I thought were pretty spooky, but they're not like I'm trying to use the word spooky more than scary. When she sees
Careful.
What?
We don't want to spoil too much because we're not in spoilers yet.
Like, I know, but there's a part. Well, it's not really a spoiler. She's like she turns off the lights in her house.
Oh, yeah.
And she sees across the street, like under by a foggy street lamp, this woman.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty.
That was pretty
spooky. I was like, I like that.
There's some good settings. There's some good like settings in it, including one that didn't get enough, and I was like, oh, that really sucks.
Yeah. There's an old hospital that I was like, this is a cliche. There's always an old mental hospital.
It's a very specific cliche, and that's something that someone brought up on Twitter that I'm very excited to talk about what this movie is referencing.
I'm gonna let you talk more about this movie because I'm just gonna like.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah. We're gonna go into spoilers. We're gonna talk about *Malignant*.
Her name's Maddie.
Her name is Maddie.
I could be wrong.
Well, let me go ahead and check. Yes. So Annabelle Wallis. This film is mostly of people I don't know.
Yeah.
This is mostly television actors and everything. Annabelle Wallis plays Madison, and she is a nurse, something, whatever. She's down on her luck. Well, except they live in a James Wan house. The inside of the house looks exactly the same as the house from The Conjuring. It looks exactly the same as the house from Insidious. It's
always a big staircase.
They live in a spooky mansion.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense, and I think he's like, yeah, that's right. It doesn't make any sense.
It's not a mansion, but it's more like it's just like a big
decaying
a big continental
Victorian house.
Yeah.
And she lives with a hilariously abusive, evil, drunken boyfriend. Who probably the only triggering thing in the movie is like, hey, there's some abuse like right at the beginning. It's really over the top. It's soap opera levels, and he throws her head into a wall. Little did he know, this is where the trouble begins.
Yeah. Well, little did we know either, until I did know. About 20 minutes later.
But you didn't know that was the cause of it.
Until 20 minutes later. Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes.
So you're like, oh, that did that.
I started to predict. I didn't know the full.
We could just go ahead and talk about it. That was the initial thing that woke Gabriel up.
So the full twist at the end is that, like, because at the beginning of the movie,
right? There's the opening sequence that takes place in like 1993,
which I thought was like at first was like he's throwing people out of the room. I was like, oh, he's like telekinesis powers. That's what he is. He's really powerful. No, he's just strong somehow. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, dude. There's a bunch of somehows.
But and then we see like it's time to cut the cancer out, and the camera pans.
It's time to cut out the cancer.
Yeah, and we pan in on Gabriel, and he's like a big head, like a little mutant monster.
If you don't, I'm surprised how visible he is now that I've seen it twice. I'm like, that is clearly the design they went with because that's meant to be a shocking surprise.
Yeah,
it's like if someone paused, they'd be like, that looks like Quado. That looks like a Quado monster.
Yeah, basically.
And because he's kind of Quado. Well, he's basket case.
So and then when I got the sense of like at the about 20 to 30 minutes after that, we start getting these deaths of this with all the hair, this hairy monster. And then I noticed the monster is like walking backwards, and I was like, "Oh, it's the lady. She's backwards, and like he's on the back of her head, and when he threw her into the wall and cracked it open, and I knew what you're doing, movie.
You're a prime detective. Maybe I was just like, go crazy. I'm poking the bear with this movie, like get stupid, get really stupid, and it goes there.
Yeah, but I didn't predict that it was like a full twin on her back somehow. I thought it was gonna be like some weird demonic psychic link or something.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh no, like I got it by that point. Yeah.
And
I mean, there's a whole sequence where it's a backwards running person.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool and crazy.
Yeah, the acrobatics in it are wild.
I wonder how they did that. Like,
yeah, there's
that
some
dude,
really.
Is it lots of like reverse? I bet you like it's a guy like walking the other way and then they reverse the shot or something.
The one has finally done some interviews with, and I've not read them, but apparently he's because everyone's been like, explain yourself. You made Malignant, now you have to explain why. What is this? Because this is a blank check movie where it's just like, hey, you made $1 million or $1 billion with Aquaman.
Yeah.
Like
1.15 billion.
You could do whatever you want. He's like, I'm doing Malignant.
Yeah.
What a mad lad. So Madison starts having these nightmares related to these series of murders related to this what it turns out to be the medical staff of this asylum or this children's hospital.
I also predicted that at the end. I guess we're in spoilers now.
Yeah, we're talking about it. We already told him what happened.
Yeah.
Like that's the.
I predicted that she's actually there. That's why she sees them because she is it or whatever.
Right.
So she's seen there, but she's just trapped inside her own mind.
Well, and the movie also lies to you a little
Also,
bit.
really cool, like drippy visual effect. When we
it's very
scenes
very
keep
Silent
happening.
Hill.
Yeah,
It's
but like better.
Well, I would say more like I liked when Silent Hill wasn't like just peeling away. It's like, that's stupid.
Okay.
It should just change. I love those games. So it used to be way more subtle before they killed the franchise.
Fair enough.
But it tricks you for a while because you start finding out like, oh, Gabriel, who's this Gabriel? And like all these characters have these connections. She has her sister. She's adopted.
Yeah.
As we discover, there's all these little twists that kind of come up that sort of reveal very hilariously not big things.
Well, this movie makes sense as far as like from the screenwriting perspective.
Oh, it's very tight. Like
Yeah.
it's all. There's nothing.
It's
however,
just the premise is absurd.
Yeah,
but,
the
like,
premise is ridiculous.
But like it makes sense.
The movie does lie to you about one thing that I hate to already get into like technical stuff that doesn't make sense. Is they never explain why Gabriel can control electricity.
Yeah.
They never explain that, and yet it's one of his biggest powers is he can, because that's what makes you think like, oh, there's something else out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she's just it.
That's
like,
why I thought like it's gonna be telekinesis.
which he does. He technically apparently does have that. It's never explained why he controls electricity.
But does he move a person?
No.
Okay.
He's just becomes super strong using all of her I guess muscle strength or whatever.
How? Because he has two people's muscle strength. That's not strong enough to
doesn't
do
work.
some of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, you can't just punch a hole through a person.
Yeah. Also, like some of the violence I thought I quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
And some of it I thought was like, why are you pulling your punch now? There's like a part where she's trapped in with a bunch of lady prisoners.
That's the big scene. That's
Yeah.
the big scene where it just goes balls to the wall.
And I thought like there's some parts where like, she's about to like crush someone's head and then it cuts away. I'm like, why? Why are you doing
Yeah,
that?
you already showed you punched a hole through a person. You stepped on a
You
person's
literally
head and it
ripped
pops
another
like
person's head out or whatever. But
it's amazing. So
James Wan is not a subtle filmmaker. So like, why are you like? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
but so
He should never be, by the way. It doesn't matter.
and this is also where we introduce George Young is the hot cop. Kekoa Shaw.
Wanda Sykes plays the other one. No,
No,
Wanda
it's-
Sykes. She looks just like Wanda Sykes a little bit.
Is it you have the two cops in on it. You have the two cops who are in on it. They're trying to figure out what's going on. She has a sister also, and who fancies the cop who at first I thought like there was like some throwaway line, and I thought he was gay. And then there was like a scene. There was also a scene later where he's like the most handsome. Like this guy says, "Oh, the prettiest guy in the room." I'm like, "Oh, that would have been interesting." It's like, no, he's not. I must have misheard something, and I thought that Shaw was meant to be a gay man, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I was misreading that. Would have been interesting, but to be like, hey, you ladies are nice, but this is my boyfriend, and
That would have been a great little. Yeah, but it's too goofy. Too much of a joke now.
if you reveal it early enough, then it's not a joke; it's just a character thing. Instead of just being like,
If
oh,
it's at the
wacky.
very end, it's a joke.
I don't even know if he survives the end of the movie. Do we see him after?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
They call an ambulance or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
Most of those other people aren't.
we'll get to it.
Yeah.
This turns into a John Wick movie.
There's a part where there's a great big chase scene that goes for way too long.
But it's
not,
really
not
cool.
way too long, but way too long. It goes for too long. But like he keeps following her to like another tunnel and to another tunnel until like deeper down. I'm like, you should have called for backup like 9 minutes
You're
ago.
chasing. Well,
But
and
also,
also
like,
you're
I
realizing they're doing superhuman abilities.
Yeah, and I would have been like as soon as that chase was over, I would have been like, I need therapy. I just chased a backwards man.
Yeah. Backwards
please
man,
talk to someone
backwards
about
man.
this?
I can go faster as you can.
Like it was like, I was just like,
And he's and Gabriel is just like jumping through these things like as a wild man because the way I thought about it is like, well, I guess he has like 180 vision because he can see out of both eyes, I guess.
yeah, I imagine. I don't know if are her eyes open? Sometimes her eyes.
I'm sure he can
closed.
access it. The movie's not. We could just say whatever we want. The movie's not going to tell us.
I wonder if how that actress got talked into that movie.
Let's see. What else is Annabelle? I mean, also she's good in it. She's also really good in it.
Yeah, she's all right.
Like
I shudder to say anyone's good in it. But
right. But
like I think
she's tonally like when they find out she was pregnant. And this is where the movie's like it's a little heavy about the whole like the
Gabriel.
abuse thing and Gabriel thing caused her to have miscarriage.
Yeah, he said like Gabriel ate her baby.
Essentially, he's eating on them.
Let me explain how miscarriages you tend to work. That baby is still inside you and it has to be removed.
Well, and they did. But I think it's the thing is like, well, he said like we removed it.
But then how does he feed off the baby?
I think he feeds off their life force or something.
Oh, all right.
It's.
I'll let you have
also,
that
the
one.
sister just says at the end of the movie to give her like motivation. That could be bullshit. She'll be like, "That's why you're having miscarriages. It's because of him." It's like Gabriel's like, "No, it's not. I didn't do that.
She's a liar.
That's really upsetting.
I would never have done
I'm a monster,
But
but
I'm
I'm not killing babies or fetuses."
I'm a vestigial twin. I'm not a monster.
He is a monster.
Even though I
though.
look like a monster.
He is a monster. He's a Gabriel himself is a tumor twin monster creature.
There's a certain name for that. It's not a vestigial twin, but there's a certain name for what it is, and it's like a growth you get on your body that will have hair, can have eyes, can have teeth.
There's people who've had like faces on the back of their heads, and it's just like. But this is it as a comical.
It's usually like that
B-movie creature.
It's so rare for it to happen on that level. Usually, it's like you have a growth that has like some teeth in it, and it just you cut it off and it's whatever.
Right.
But like this is like it's a whole functioning. Like it would have been better if they were just like it was a Siamese twin that you had. Like just go full on. It was another person inside of you.
It technically was sort of, but they have to make it as monstrous and impossible as possible.
Yeah.
And we find out it's like, oh well. It became too dangerous. I don't know about you, but when they finally revealed him fully with the camera, I went, yeah! I was like, yes! There were several moments.
You mean at the beginning or at the end?
At the end.
Yeah, okay.
At the beginning, I was like, I don't know what that thing is because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then when you know, you can't help but know what it is. And it's wild. But they cut him off, and they're not able to remove him from her head because it would kill her. So they just close him up in her skull.
Yeah.
And it stays dormant, I guess, for 30 years. So Gabriel is forming this kind of identity now that he's free. And he's going to get like V for Vendetta justice against those who wronged him. Yeah. And he crafts a very...
How does he talk to her then? This on the telephone.
He has electrical powers that are never explained.
Oh yeah, that's right.
James Wan was just like, yeah, he could use electricity. Why? Don't shut up. He got electroshocked and now he has power over. He's a mutant now.
I love that James Wan definitely said that to somebody, but he didn't do it mean. He was like, shh, just let me have fun.
Yeah, like a script. Script supervisor came in and said, James, you have all these major moments where you're telling the audience like Gabriel could be. He's like. Here's your paycheck.
Be quiet.
Don't worry about it. And it's
it's
literally, don't worry about it.
It's like the opposite of like Ben Affleck talking to Michael Bay on Armageddon. He's like we teach, like they teach oil people to be astronauts or drillers to be astronauts. Like, wouldn't it be easier to just teach astronauts drill a hole in the ground? And he goes, shut the fuck up. Ben Affleck coming in with a perfectly logical point.
I just, I'm thinking that it's like, shut up, Boston. Take a seat.
Anyway.
Enjoy your movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also at this
see
point,
the last duel when it comes out.
he takes the Gabriel takes the main doctor's. 'Cause that was a scene that freaked me out. Was when you see her and like behind the window of the washing machine, it looks like a ghost face. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
The washing machine.
Because she goes to her house, the doctor's house, as Gabriel, but we're seeing it from her Silent Hill perspective.
Yeah,
and he slices her to pieces with the metal, which he takes.
Crazy, yeah, that's crazy too.
It's so good. He turns it into a weapon. He turns it into
a push knife.
He turns it into a really cool, like, iconic slasher weapon. Like, that's his iconic slasher weapon.
Sure. I don't know about really cool, but it's all right.
That's pretty neat.
Weird reward.
Whenever they make the Todd McFarlane action figure of him, there's going to be a very beautifully designed. What you won't see are Gabriel like Halloween costumes. I don't think. Not yet. Not until it becomes a cult classic.
Or just a regular classic. I think it's doing all right.
It's doing pretty good. It's getting word of mouth. Like, people are like, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
So
I think you just have to see it to just see it. So you can just be like, what?
Yeah.
I think believe it. Like, believe it. What do you mean? Like, it's a movie.
You could believe.
I believe it.
Do you believe in a Malignant? There's also a scene where a woman, a completely unrelated woman, seemingly, is leading. They're in Portland. This is very much in Portland, I guess, or Seattle somewhere. I think it's Portland because there's an underground city in Portland.
I think it is Seattle,
city.
actually, but keep going.
But so she's like leading this tour, and that's where he abducts her, and takes. He has a lair that is very similar to the red guy from Insidious. He's got like a molding like tiptoe through the tulips, where he's like. That little
he's sharpening the weapon.
Yeah, he's sharpening his weapon, so he's got
and
like
he has her roped up to the side.
He's got her up there like Spider-Man put her up there, just like webbed her up there, and he's just
who built that house? Because usually it's just the insulation. They don't like go on the other side and repanel.
Well, as we find out, it's their house.
Yeah, of course.
But also they have a spooky.
It's also her mom, her original birth mother.
Right.
That's what it is. I thought it was her because they look so similar, the actresses.
Which is effective.
Is that her? So he's kidnapped her?
I thought it was the beginning of him kidnapping a bunch of women. Then it was like, oh, okay, because that's like a reveal later and all that. Yeah. So eventually they go back to the hospital for way too brief of a scene, given how beautiful this spooky, haunted, I assume haunted hospital on the coast of the West Coast. Yeah. The sister goes to investigate more. She pulls her car up to the cliff in a scene that I can only imagine was there to make people laugh. Because everyone's just like, whoa, hold on, slow down. And she pulls her car up. There was no parking lot, apparently, in this major hospital.
It fell off the cliff because of climate change.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened. And so she just like pulls it up to the edge and then gets out. It's so gothic. Like, it's so like clearly gothic horror.
It's also clearly not there. It's like all CGI.
Oh, it's so fake.
Yeah, it's like not a real place.
And then she goes in and she's in this place that apparently was operating in the 90s, but has like wooden like cholera era like wheelchairs.
It looks so run down, like it was built in the 30s. I'm like, that is.
It looks like it was built in the 1830s, and then it's just like she's only there for a minute to get the tape with the reveal, and everyone's kind of like, because we get like these things where you think
once just in a horror movie, I want that to happen. Where they're going to the old place and they have to go to the file room and just be like, the files are gone because they just burnt. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
or just like it's hard to find files because it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands.
Also,
of patients.
this massive structure apparently is not a historical site or anything. They just abandon it. It's like,
and they leave they leave all the documents there.
Yeah,
as if they would do that. If they moved it to a new place, place would take
or
on
that
their
would be
files.
like something. It would be like
I want someone to go there and be like, oh, it's all empty because they took everything because of course they did.
Or they show up and it's like, yeah, we're going to demolish this in a week. Like, actually, it's already been demolished 10 years ago because we ran out of funding. And it's like, no, we have to keep it as a haunted hospital. And I'm like, that's great. Nothing happens there except she finds the tape.
Yeah, that seems way too long to find the tape.
It should have been longer because you have the space of a scary hospital.
Yeah, it should have been longer, and like there's actually like really terrible like history here.
Yeah,
or just let her get the tape and get on with the fucking movie.
And it's like I love the setting and nothing happens here. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I guess that's something. Yeah. Because while you're watching it, you're also seeing her as a little girl and like talking to Gabriel, and so you're like, oh, because she keeps calling it the devil. it's not a demon.
Just a person, really.
It's just it's just another human essentially, and who just needs to be told that he's loved.
Yeah, probably.
But eventually,
that is a trope that I like. I do love defeat the villain by loving him.
yeah.
Anyway,
Which that almost kind of happens, but it's different. It's a way that she's able to like. So eventually, we discover like she, as in the main character. Who for some reason also doesn't have a bunch of bruises across her body and like all these other things that happen because of Gabriel flinging her body around,
like a rag doll.
yeah, dropping off buildings like Spider-Man, and just like no, she's fine. She should be like, I'm sore as hell.
It just never explains why she's so strong. She like lifts up the thing.
Yeah,
like it's a weird movie, man.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
I was like, explain why would he be strong? He has tiny little like creature arms.
Yeah,
he did. Now he doesn't.
Well, apparently he's been in her mind palace so long.
Also,
he's learned kung
scars?
fu.
Does she have scars on her back? Has anyone ever like you have giant, massive surgical scars on your back?
No, I guess they were so brilliant, couldn't notice anything. It was so perfect. You couldn't notice
he's
anything.
like on her entire back.
They grafted everything off. Also, what did you think of like the little moments where this like glitchy, spooky version of "Where Is My Mind" kept popping up? It always made me smile.
Yeah, I did notice that. I was like, is that "Where's My Mind" by the Pixies?
Yeah, it always made me.
Club? Is that what that is? I couldn't tell at first. I thought it was like, is that just me? But apparently it is.
I have to imagine James
But it's
Wan.
only for like 10 seconds. And then
Yeah, but it shows up
leaves.
at different parts, and it was just like anytime a big shocking thing would happen, like when she goes through the roof and they're like in her house, and the main character gets arrested. It's a because it's almost the movie asking you, "Do you know where your head is at right now?" Because this is getting stupid. Yeah. Eventually, we put two and two together. She lets Gabriel loose. He's a freak on a leash. He's got a creepy spaghetti face, and he just demolishes these
like 30 cops.
Oh, we're not at the 30 cops yet.
Oh, sorry.
The hilarious time warping jail cell where one of the women is clearly dressed like she's from the 70s. She's got a big old afro and like gold chain and everything. I'm like, did y'all come from a Halloween party? Why are you dressed like this? Zoe Bell is the punk woman who gets in her face.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's Zoe Bell. And it's just like, okay, I love that she's having fun in this. And then the movie realizes it's insane because she starts twitching out. It's like, oh my God. Well, also all these women just start beating her. And it's so ridiculous. Yeah. They're not people. They're just like, yeah, get her, girls. Yeah. And then a spaghetti monster pops out of her.
She rips like her hair open.
Yeah.
How does that heal, by the way?
Well, but we get hints of it.
It's your skin.
Yeah. Well, and your bones.
Yeah, like you need surgery to heal that.
It's because Gabriel's he's got in charge.
Whatever.
And then he just contorts, takes over, and just annihilates these people. Like he might as well just be ripping them in half like paper.
So where does the outfit come from?
The jacket and everything?
Yeah.
That's his like he chose that.
But where is it? In the jail cell.
Does he get dressed in it again?
Is she already wearing it?
No. She doesn't have it in the jail cell. He goes and gets it in with the one lady
from the evidence room
with the lady with the glasses who's like a true crime. She's the co-writer.
Yeah.
That actress is the co-writer. That actress, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So, nothing happened there. I thought she was gonna like grab and rip her head off or something.
Would have been cool.
It would have been. Yeah, you could kill off some more of this cast. Granted, she does kill 30 police officers, and I mean,
yeah, but it's not gruesome enough. But it's pretty cool.
It's not gruesome enough. It's way too action movie. Yeah. But she does beat a man with his own arm.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No, she rips an arm off another person and then beats them with it. That's already that's a star.
Yeah.
Anytime someone gets a limb ripped off and they beat someone else with that limb,
you get a point.
You get a point. You get a big point. Because one of the other reviewers I was listening to, guys from Red Letter Media, said like for some reason they shot this whole police scene in what looks like a gymnasium, and it's like, oh, it's so they could have a giant choreographed fight in it later.
Yeah.
Shaw and his partner find out.
Ironic, not to James Wan. Like, if you ever want to see like his best action work, go watch Aquaman.
Yeah,
because it really does have some of his best action stuff. And watching this, I'm reminded of like, oh yeah, he is really good at that action stuff. Mm-hmm. This isn't as good as Aquaman, but it's pretty. There's a really great one-take fight scene with Nicole Kidman at the beginning of Aquaman because she's his mom, and she just like demolishes a bunch of Atlantean soldiers. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I reminded, and it has lots of like, there's lots of panning where where the camera
Yeah,
is like.
and there's a lot of that in
You're
this,
very
too.
aware of where the camera is in space.
Well, he
and
loves that panning thing,
Yeah.
like to show like disorientation and panic and things like that.
And just like kudos to those stuntmen for not ever looking like they're waiting. That's how you can tell if it's a one-take fight scene and it's not a good one. You'll notice people are just kind of like waiting in the background, like. And now, Last Jedi has that in their little fight.
Is it my turn? Yeah. I think about Matrix Reloaded with all the Smiths.
Yeah, but some of that's all CGI.
Yeah, some of those Smiths look like an N64 game.
Yeah, that was the first time that we had done that.
Right.
So
you pause a few moments when Neo's like on the pole swinging, and he looks like a PlayStation character.
He looks too rubbery.
Yeah,
and
the light didn't hit him right.
Yeah.
So Gabriel goes and gets all of his gear, his beloved award knife of vengeance against
he just
medicine.
Goes to town on these fucking cops.
You want to talk about the scene you wanted in Candyman.
There is a part where
that's that scene.
Is it though? I don't know if I wanted that in Candyman.
Because there's also probably everyone's favorite scene where he picks up a chair, throws it across the room, and it hits the cop in the head.
That's pretty good.
I applauded. I was like, that's funny on purpose. That's meant to be comedy. I'm sorry. That you don't shoot that scene unless you're making a comedy.
It's really weird to me. I wish that she had gotten shot. Like, what would happen if he gets shot?
Yeah.
Or what if it goes to her pancreas?
Yeah, no, she's not able to dodge bullets, but
everyone sucks. Every cop sucks.
So terrible. They can't shoot him.
Even there's a guy with a big old shotgun. Yeah. And he just, you know how hard it is to miss with a shotgun?
Yeah.
When we're like
point blank
12
range,
feet across from each other, it's virtually impossible. The only way if it's impossible is if I do this.
This brain creature that has been living in, I'm assuming, darkness for 10, 30 years. Now it's just like, I know Kung Fu.
And I'm jumping around like Spider-Man.
It's amazing.
Which I actually like some of the Spider-Man jumping.
Oh, yeah. Again, the backwards movement and everything with the trench coat over and everything is really cool looking.
I'm very curious like how they shot that.
Yeah.
Because he's backwards. So did they shoot it with like a normal facing guy and then just like go back and sort of CGI the movements to make him look backwards? Or did they shoot it like, you can't have shot the whole thing in reverse?
No, I don't think so because it looks too propulsive.
Yeah. That's
I think
clever.
it's probably computer work is doing
it's probably like a guy is literally like doing it backwards and fighting like that or whatever, and then they do some animation for the crazier stuff.
Yeah, because it's like he's bending over backwards and everything. It all happens so quickly you barely even register the artistry of it because it's so seamless.
And who that stunt guy is doing all these weird backwards
Phenomenal.
moves. Like it is noteworthy. I will say that. I was saying it's applause worthy. Like, is it applause worthy? I mean,
I
it's great.
applaud it.
As an action scene, I'm like, that's good. As a movie, I'm like,
okay.
All right.
Eventually,
I've been mad about worse movies, to be honest with you.
Eventually, everybody meets up at the hospital because he's going to
kill the mom.
He blows this guy's heart up. He blows his pacemaker up, which is kind of great.
Oh yeah, he does.
My heart, my pacemaker. I'm like, yeah.
I forgot about that. He kills this guy's pacemaker. I thought it would be better if he just like killed him.
Yeah.
Like puts his hand through. I don't know.
No, he's got a power of electricity. You better put it to use.
Why don't you just like turn off the wife's machines that are keeping her alive, or the mother's machines?
Guess not.
Can't do it.
But he goes in and they try to stop him and everything. And she's like, "Hey, Gabriel, I'm so sorry that I did all that to you and everything." And he's like, "I've been wrong." He's got a great voice too. Like he's this voice actor who does a lot of work because he's very articulate. He's like, "I'm going to, no fair, no.
It's time to cut the cancer out." Whatever.
And then she realizes like, "Oh, I'm just as powerful as you. You're going into my mind palace." The movie tricks you to thinking that he's winning because he like shoots the sister in the head because he's jealous of her. He's like, if you hadn't come along, I still would have power. You've made her forget about me. Blows her head off and then goes over. And then you realize, oh, she's like, we share the same mind. I now have control of you. And so she puts him in brain jail.
That was funny.
And it's just like, Gabriel, you now have to, you get the sentence. Wait, she says a hilarious line like,
live in my mind.
You forget we share the same brain.
Did he forget that? Like, I don't know if he did.
You forget we share the same brain. Technically, I didn't because we both thought of it. Don't give me technicals, Gabriel. Locks him.
Everything you do, I also do, and everything I do, you do, and everything you know, I know, and I know you know. Like,
except when I don't want you to. Well, now I do know.
All right.
And he goes, no. It gets her brain closes up again, assumingly forever.
She gets to live with superpowers for the rest of forever.
Yeah.
Apparently. Is there a sequel to this movie?
I hope so, man. I hope there's a Malignant
How
too.
is he coming back out? She knows he's there.
The only thing you could do is redemption art for Gabriel, and he becomes like this. He becomes like Darkman.
Yeah, he becomes a superhero.
I think there's a potential for a dark universe starting with Gabriel.
A Gabriel verse.
Yeah, why not?
A Dark Avengers.
Dark Avengers. Maybe he runs into the Warrens. Who knows? It's he goes fight Annabelle. It ends up being a part of the Conjuring universe.
God, man, I hope not.
That's the plot of Malignant. I have deeply enjoyed the discourse about Malignant. It is
Tell me
either
something about this because I got to hear because we've talked enough about it. Really.
So that's the plot of Malignant. Essentially, there are two camps in this movie.
Are there?
There's shades of it, but there are two camps in this movie.
There shouldn't be two camps.
One is this movie fucking sucks. It's one of the worst films of the year, and James Wan made an absolute disaster. It's on the level of The Room.
That's not a camp. That's not a camp. That doesn't.
No. There are people who believe that. There are people who are like, this movie is fucking stupid.
It does suck, but like.
Yeah, but those are people who don't get it. They're not in on the joke. And that's where he has successfully made something that is very difficult to do. There are so many people who have attempted to try to make a B movie, midnight movie, like bad movie on purpose, and have failed.
Yeah.
I think he has succeeded. I think he has succeeded in making a bad movie that is sincerely well made and will be beloved in the horror world for years to come.
Well made, like technically.
Technically, it's excellent. Yeah. And but it is also because people have pointed out like this is an amalgamation of so many horror references and legacy, particularly Italian giallo horror films, because it is about a black glove wearing slasher who uses a strange weapon and has all these like tones of vengeance and all these like things. It's very
it could easily
very
be
giallo
like
referencing.
I Know What You Did Last Summer people as well, and like stuff like that. Like,
and one of my favorite things people made a point of mentioning is like take a look at that big ol' asylum. Take a look at the tone of it. It's very. This feels like a ode visually to Dark Castle Entertainment. And the turn of the century, our century, horror films like House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, Ghost Ship, movies that aren't good, but everyone watched them growing up.
And some people have fond memories of them. I don't have fond memories of any of those. Those movies are just bad for me. But like,
I love House on Haunted Hill. That's a personal favorite
House on
movie.
Haunted Hill is all
the
right.
William Malone House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts from 13 Ghosts.
I just remember that was the first pair of boobs I saw.
The slasher lady.
Yeah.
13 Ghosts is an
so
extraordinary set design and creature design that went nowhere.
It's just a boring movie, really.
Yeah, it's a boring movie, but it also has some of the coolest creature designs.
I agree.
Ever. Like,
but here's the thing: like, none of those movies are made with the level of skill that this movie's made.
No, but I think what they're getting at is James Wan watched those movies probably as a teenager.
Or something, yeah.
Or in his early 20s, or so. I don't know how old the man is. But
now he's like, I want to do that, but like for realsies.
Yeah,
like,
but he's like, I want to make references to that kind of new metal-y, turn of the century, stylized music video looking horror movie. Yeah. And that's all over Malignant. I think more than anything else. Yeah. And because it's also the movie Basket Case. It's also
when I hear that, like in a way, it's like the music critics that shit on new metal, not like giving credit to the thousands and thousands of kids who went to rock shows and like created an industry of commerce and economics around new metal. Like I don't like Korn, but Korn sells more tickets than Mariah Carey does.
Right. You can't deny that.
There are people that do like Korn, and there are people that will like this movie.
There are people who, when that Limp Bizkit show came up, they loved it.
Oh yeah.
They all had fun
the new
looking at Fred Durst look like a middle-aged man. But also he chose
like
that
the
style.
Of the yacht club.
Yeah, it's great. And then he's up there singing break stuff.
I always say I love how everyone looks at Fred Durst and be like, he looks weird, and then they look at Wes Borland with black, and they're like, he looks fine.
Who looks like Malignant? Who looks like Gabriel?
And they're like, that's fine. That's all right.
Yeah, his black eyes are okay.
Yeah.
But it's that aesthetic. It's that like early 2000s.
He made a working Joe's horror movie.
Yes.
In a way. But he made it with his level of skill.
This film is in cousins with stuff like Chud or like I would say like 13 Ghosts or
like Freddy versus Jason kind of.
Well, no, Freddy versus Jason sucks.
I think it's all right.
And it's also kind of like one of the, but I think it is firmly in with a lot of these like cult classics.
Yeah.
And I think we again, like I said, there are so many filmmakers and so many people who tried to make a cult classic happen, and it's up to us, the film watching people, to say yay or nay. And most of the time we say nay, no, we're not going to let that happen. That you wanted to make a cult classic, your movie's not good enough. It doesn't hit right. The moment Malignant came out and everyone started watching it, everyone was just like, this is so fun. This is so fun.
It is
I
fun.
love this.
And it's scary, as I've said. So like it fails. Like
it's not scary.
The operative of a horror movie is to, and this is defined as a horror movie, is to scare me. It's not scary. So I have to knock it pretty heavily for that.
It's much more of a thriller than anything else. It's not a horror movie.
I think it's better as like a weird horror action, like B movie.
Which it is. It is a horror action B movie. And now watching it, Wan is so skilled because it never goes so, it's almost too sincere. Like the characters and everyone are so emotionally
like when she's like, now I know what it means to have a family, and I was like, oh god, like shut up.
I thought at any moment, like at the end of that movie, I thought that like Gabriel was gonna bust out of her face
and eat her.
Yeah, just like ah!
That was funny
because I was like, but that's not this movie. This movie is not cynical. It's very sincere. Like it's very contained. It comes from a lot of love. It's just a weird James Wan love.
Has he said anything about it? Like, what are some,
he has, but I haven't read those interviews.
What are some of the negatives? Like the things that the other camp is saying about why does it suck and why is it not?
Well, then it's a dumb movie about a monster tumor.
I know there are some critics that are like, I know what this movie is, I just still don't like it.
Yeah, and I think I think that's the same with a lot of B movies like
going.
that.
I'm gonna look one up.
Is like, it's either I think it just depends on how the genre hits you. There's some people I know who watched Malignant and are like, that was stupid. Like, I get it, but that was stupid. And meanwhile, I'm like, I get it. That was stupid. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. So maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just people like me. Maybe it's like a litmus test, not for like superiority. It's not like a gatekeeping movie. It's way too unpretentious. It's got nothing going on.
Oh, no, it's not. I don't think James Wan thinks that it's like, this is the best thing I'll do in my life.
No, he got $1 billion and said, I want to make Malignant.
I'm going to make Malignant.
Where Malignant came from in his, I don't know if that was a script that had been
76% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Audience score 50-50 though. Weird. Usually it's the other way. Love it or hate it, there isn't much in between. Malignant is one horror movie that takes risks and is willing to get weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Here it comes. Although Malignant isn't particularly scary, yes, I feel like that should be a bigger knock than it is. Director James Wan's return to horror contains plenty of gory thrills and a memorably bonkers twist, I guess.
I know you're saying like I saw it coming, but the one thing I've been telling people is like the movie tells you multiple times we're going here.
Yeah.
But you're like, no way.
Malignant isn't a good movie, but the bones of its giallo salute are just outlandish enough to make one wonder if the obtuse moments are purposeful. They are purposeful. Like, what are you talking about?
James Wan is a smart man. He knows what he's doing.
As always with Wan, Malignant sets are dense with detail and texture, but for all his experience with the genre, falls prey to its more obvious traps: awkward exposition, a fade-out scene that falls flat. I don't know what that means. As if the director left the room early. If I hadn't seen Glenn Danzig's Death Rider in the House of Vampires during the week when it was in theaters, Malignant would easily have been the worst thing I saw so far in 2021.
See? And I'm like, how can you watch this and say this is... Look, I get it. But how can you watch? It's bad, but it's so finely crafted and so aware of itself. It's not the worst thing you've seen all year.
Yeah, it can't be.
It can't be. It's too.
Well, how far? We're in September. Yeah, I mean, it can't be the worst thing you've seen all year.
It's not. In no way does it like. Do you have to put it in like the top 20? But to say it's bad, no, it's not bad. It's very competently made. It's just he made a very high budgeted B movie.
This guy has it right here. Bob Grimm. This is what I'm going to say. This is exactly how I view it. Enjoyable trash.
Yeah, enjoyable trash.
It's exactly.
I love that. It's
exactly
enjoyable
what it is.
trash.
I'm not watching it again. I'll never watch. I won't say I'll never watch.
I'll watch it again.
But I might watch it again at some point. But
I can see this being a great like drinking game movie. I can see this being a great movie you watch with an audience.
This guy's taking it too far here. This is a positive review. A joyous celebration of horror cinema, marshaling every element of craftsmanship to put it over the biggest, most polished, junky haunted house theatrics a body could hope for.
No, that's a bit much.
You're too far.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Unlike
this guy too. A bloodbath cleverly executed through its gore narrative and technical execution, Malignant is the best horror film of the year.
Well, I doubt
I don't know how
that.
many horror films have come out this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some stuff to come out, but I get where I think they're getting way too caught up in the enthusiasm of something because this is a rare moment where you have there's some people who have been made the point of like, how did the studios let them make this?
Yeah.
This is a bizarre film.
Oh, Sean Chandler. I know Sean Chandler said this. This is how to look at it. One of the weirdest big studio horror films in years. It will likely leave a lot of mainstream audiences scratching their heads, but there's a lot of love for those who enjoy these offbeat horror movies. Like it's for those people.
Yeah.
It's for the people that love Freddy versus Jason, but I don't even know what else I was gonna say.
My favorite picture, I posted it up on my thing talking about Malignant, was the scene of Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, where he's in the movie theater with a cigar going, ah!
Yes.
Me in the last 20 minutes of Malignant. That was me. I was sitting at my little papasan, and I was just like, ah!
I think that's James Wan in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Too. Like,
He's laughing all the way.
Cigar.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm here for it. I think there's something to be said. This movie is giving me a lot of glee. Like it's so joyously absurd.
Here, it's messy, grotesque, and the end is completely ridiculous. That's why it's great. Snobbery be damned. Like,
that's why I want to know more about like
this guy doesn't get it though. This is a review that doesn't get it. James Wan unintentionally delivers the next horror cult classic. No, he intentionally delivered the next horror.
The fact that
classic.
it became a cult classic was not in his control.
Yeah.
It happened because
it's not even going to be a cult classic. It's going to be successful, probably.
But it will still be a cult classic.
Yeah.
Like something like V for Vendetta was successful, but it lives more as a cult classic than anything else because of where it exists in the cultural zeitgeist.
This guy doesn't get it right either. Malignant, right? It's their opinion.
Yeah, they're also
but like Malignant is bad, both intentionally and accidentally. The Happening was a better time. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Which is the first time that movie ever won a fight or whatever. If campy is your thing, pitch a tent elsewhere. What do you think is campy if not this movie? As far as horror is concerned,
I think we'll go ahead and get close to wrap it up. There's not much else to say about Malignant, because it's not saying much. It's saying James Wan has had these particular desires to make this film for a long time.
This is a bad review that I can get behind because this is kind of where I'm at. Once the big reveal occurs, everything makes sense. That doesn't really erase the sense of being boring, confusing, and not particularly scary, but it makes me appreciate more about what the filmmaker was going for. Like, yeah. I don't think it's scary. It is a little boring at times. The finale of the movie did have me glued to it. I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And there's a schmaltzy earnestness to a lot of the performances.
Yeah.
That I'm a little like.
But then you have to wonder.
But no actress wants to be known for giving a bad performance.
But So I have to think James Wan is a great actor's director because those performances could be so much more soap opera. Instead, they're very cloyingly sincere, but
they're
they have
so
to
sincere that they almost right.
Like the tone is
double horseshoe.
Yeah, the tone gets really weird because of that. Like you have a movie where you have a backwards tumor monster that slices people up, and it's also about an abused woman who has had a series of miscarriages and is deeply traumatized. That's a very difficult, and I don't think it's a bridge they walked well enough.
Yeah.
It's just that whole drama passes by so quickly that you almost forget about it.
Like that her husband is like abusive and stuff, and like she just walks home inside to the abusive husband. I'm just like, leave.
Well,
But it implies they've been together for years, and I'm just like,
Right.
he's already a chode. He comes in, he's like the cardboard cutout of the
Well, he's
worst
not-
husband. He's like, where's
Yeah.
my sandwich?
Yeah, he's not a real
Whatever.
person. Like it's there's no nuance here.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
know.
a nuanced thing. But I'll say it has to make me think that all these people read the script.
Yeah.
They knew what
Oh,
movie
yeah,
they were in,
100%.
but they all had to be in on it. They all had to been like, this is fun.
Sure.
I like to think the lead actress, Annabelle Willis, I would love to hear her being interviewed where she's like, I had fun doing it.
Or I bet you it was, I don't know, because this movie could have just been like, come out and been like,
Crashed horribly.
horribly bombed,
bombed.
and like you're like attached to it. And I think they had enough faith in James Wan to be like, it's gonna be, we're doing high dollar, so bad it's good, basically. So like you gotta just trust me or whatever. And James Wan has done like he did a movie called Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon before. He does earnest performances, and like between like his Fast and Furious movie is still like the one I like the most out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like his
That was 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he can do a bunch of tones that aren't like
Yeah, The Conjuring is you feel for this family and also it's
yeah.
very scary. One of the scariest scenes in that movie is when all the girls are in the room and they're all pointing at the corner. There's nothing there, but they are so terrified. The expectation that something going to happen is gut wrenching. You're
Yeah.
like, oh God,
so like
this has none of that.
yeah, I think that it's just like I can't find it in my heart to get mad at this movie.
No.
I would more likely get mad at I'm more likely to get mad at and trash Candyman than I am this.
Yeah, and I think that's and neither of those movies make me mad.
No, but I'd be more likely to.
But I think if this
Candyman is
if this
real
film-
serious. There's
yeah.
nothing worse than a serious bore or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this is a tightrope that either if it had been too serious, I would have probably been like, this does not work. Yeah. Instead, it is a world where ridiculous things are happening, and even though like some characters are like, there's no moment where someone like says, "Wait, you said it came out of her brain?" And then looks at the camera like, could you say that again? There's no laugh lines in the movie.
Yeah, not really.
Instead, the movie is except for the scene where all the women in the prison go like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Because the movie has been building up for you in the audience saying like, "What the fuck?" And then finally the movie says it, and you're like, "Thank you, okay, I get it."
But again, I also took points away because it's not scary.
No, it's not scary.
And I predicted what it was. But I was still like, yeah, all right, I'll watch it.
I'll say,
I'll watch anything.
I'll give it. There's not a lot of negatives I can give it because those negatives feel intentional.
I don't know if they're like the only negative I have is like those really schmaltzy, earnest performances that are like so
Tonally
earnest, they
off.
are soap opera-ish.
Yeah.
Because people think soap opera, they think like big bad like Shatner acting. No,
No.
you watch a soap opera.
They're all
it's-
theater
it's-
actors.
It's weird. It's overly earnest.
Right. It takes skill.
That's what like this was
Yeah.
like.
It takes skill in long running soap operas to keep up with the characters that like people come back to it. They make the jokes about it being bad acting, but like you got to be able to. It's theater. Like it's essentially you're watching a play every time. It's just aware that it's melodrama. It's a melodrama. I'll say that.
I'm
but-
never a big fan of the "it's so bad it's good" type movies. I
agree.
I don't particularly enjoy being like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and watch a movie that's so bad it's good, but ultimately I'll never feel a big need to revisit them. I've had a couple that I revisit, but like I also don't have this revulsion that some people have against them kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me personally.
Yeah, some people get so up in their like it's like there's no such thing as a film critic anymore. Is my thing. It's like
The internet has ruined film critics
yeah,
because guys like you and I can be film critics.
yeah. But like I think you should at least take into account the intention someone has when they make something.
Yeah.
And if someone is intending their movie to be big and very earnest and serious, this is a thing that they knock Zack Snyder for as well. When I say like, oh, it's so overly serious and self-important. I'm like, yeah, there's a place for that. And then I have a place for the inverse of that, which is what's the opposite of self-importance? Not important.
or just careless. Not careless, but like lackadaisical. Just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's silly.
Yeah, so like I'm not the kind of person that gives like 9 out of 10 reviews to movie that I'm like that it's so bad it's good. But I'm also never gonna give it like a 3 out of 10 either.
Well, because it's like
this movie's a solid 6 for me, and that's exactly where it should be.
And for me, I would say the same. Like, but I think I've just had so much fun with it.
Me too.
And
this was my face watching the last 30 minutes of the movie,
and this was mine. That was what was I watching the other day that also made me do that? Go like, what? I can't remember. But
let's go to. I think we've said enough about this. Let's talk about recommendations.
Okay.
And then wrap it up.
Let's keep it short on the recommendations.
I have a really great recommendation that I'm going to recommend so hard we have to do an episode at some point.
Okay.
We have to.
I'm going to recommend a couple of TV shows.
Me too. Well, a TV show. But keep going.
You go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to keep it short, though.
All right, then. Go ahead.
Hulu has 2 shows out right now that I'm not finished with.
There's that one with Steve Martin. And
That's
Martin.
one of them.
Oh, okay.
Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it's Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez.
Yep.
And they are tenants in a Upper West Side New York high-rise. And one of their neighbors dies quite suddenly from what appears to be
Mysterious
suicide.
Circumstances.
Well, it appears just to be a suicide.
Yeah.
And yet all these little things start coming together. Well, the problem with these 3 is there couldn't be any more different. Steve Martin is a former like TV actor, kind of a Columbo type, who's now just like on, kind of on like whatever. He's a cynical.
But he used to play a detective.
He used to play a detective.
Oh.
He used to play kind of a more like a Telly Savalas, like
a Columbo. I guess.
Yeah, he's like a Columbo type. Martin Short is a down on his luck, eccentric theater director who's just directed a bunch of bombs. And Selena Gomez is a sort of aloof, mysterious millennial, but may have some more history than we think.
How many episodes are out so far?
I think there's 5.
Okay.
And it's a charming, funny, but very well crafted murder mystery that starts revealing twists that are so well done that you're just like, wait, what? And then you're like, oh, I have to find out what happens next. Doing mysteries like that are hard. Like, I have to imagine they're very difficult, that they keep getting you. The people working on this, they know the mystery hook. They know how to get you, and they know how to pull you back in, where it's just like a character reveals something in the last 10 seconds, and you're like, really? And then you're like, oh, next episode. So they got the binge thing down really well. It's so nice to see Steve Martin again.
I know. That's what I felt. I haven't seen it yet, but when I looked at those trailers, I was like, man, he looks like he's having a lot of fun.
And it's obviously not the first time him and Martin Short have worked off each other. Their chemistry is immediately right back. They're like, it's the odd couple. It's Felix and Oscar. Like, they're just
which one is who though?
Well,
who's the fuddy-duddy and who's the wild
Steve Martin's the fuddy-duddy and Martin Short's the wild guy.
Okay. That's not what that should be.
And they're and then Selena Gomez is just kind of, she's more or less sort of the character who ends up being not the main character. They all 3 are.
She's along for the ride kind of thing.
She's along for the ride, but she holds more agency and more story than you think. To where it's kind of like, but they're all true crime aficionados, and it's all like they're trying to make a podcast. Where that's what the name Only Murder. We're only going to cover murders in the building. Well, things get much more complicated than that. I love it.
Are there lots of murders in the building?
No.
Okay.
But there may have been murders in the past
okay.
that have come back around. And so the simple death of one man has revealed this greater.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It's very fun. It's a delight. It's delightful. It's fun. It's humorous. It's full of heart, and it keeps you attached. The other show that I'm not finished with, there's a couple episodes left. The season's done, but I need to watch it. Is Reservation Dogs.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Is
that something you play on Reservoir Dogs?
Yes.
Okay.
It is
there a bank robbery?
No. What it is it's
Indian kids on a reservation.
Yes, it's kids in Oklahoma.
And they turn into dogs.
They do not turn into dogs.
Boo.
That would fit into it because it talks a lot about like Native American culture and like mythology at times.
But they're up to no good.
They are.
But they have hearts of gold.
They have hearts of gold. Yes. It's co-produced by Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
You can already tell. Like,
I'm gonna knock Taika Waititi here in a second, but keep going.
but you could tell you can already tell like the tone it's going for. It is a group of Native American young folks living in a reservation in Oklahoma, and they are a bunch of scamps who get up to crime and do other things. They're poor. They're all trying to do their best, and they want to get enough money to get the hell out of here and go to California.
Are any of them like mean or violent criminals?
No,
Not really.
no, not really. I mean, they,
Petty thieves.
like petty thieves. In the first episode, they steal a guy's truck to steal his chips so they can sell them in order to make money. And then later they find out that kind of ruined his life. So now they have to go back and get the truck because it's like, because for a while their whole, you feel for these kids because they're just like, one of their friends died recently. Yeah. And so like you don't know why, but it's like this place killed him. This place is going to kill us. Because it's like we're the downtrodden people living on a reservation. If alcohol's not going to get us, violence is going to get us. We're done for. And it focuses mostly around the sort of the leader. And eventually, this other gang comes in and starts like jostling for power.
Of course.
And so, but mostly it's just an episode takes for each of them. Like the one kid goes on a ride along with the local sheriff, who everyone thinks is a loser.
Can I ask, do we get more like insight into what life is like on a reservation?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Most of the cast is entirely Native American actors and actresses.
Good for them.
One of my favorite characters is every time the lead character gets knocked out, he has a vision of a Native American warrior who claims to have been at Little Bighorn but got like killed on accident. And the guy who plays him is absolutely hilarious. Where he's just like he just comes up. He's like this kind of schlubby guy with the headdress and everything. He's like, yeah, that's me getting knife. Woo woo. Right. Okay. And he's just kind of like this. He's kind of like this loser spirit creature that follows him around. One of my favorite characters in it. There's one episode. There is this main theme of like, we need to get out of here. We're scamps in a scamp world. We need to get out of here. But then there are just episodes following the characters. Like one of them goes hunting with their father. And like reconnects with them through that and has this fun little adventure. The ride along episode's great. But mostly it's just all these eccentric characters in this rural rustic area. You really get to know them. The comedy hits. I was laughing out loud so many times, but also then there's all this heart. It's that Waititi thing, but it's also like,
is it? Keep going.
Yeah, I know what you're don't you get that, but it's doing very successful. It's kind of this runaway. The reason why it's called Reservation Dogs is like there's a scene when they go to memorialize their friend who passed, and they're all dressed in suits and ties, and there are these two twin rappers who come up and just like, yeah, we've been talking big game about you, the Res Dogs, and they all look at their outfits and everything like, yeah, that works. And so they're like, we need to start doing like things for good, and so. They're petty thieves with a heart of gold. Each one of them has a different... Do they
have an aspiration to like get off the reservation?
Yeah, they want to go to California.
Okay, cool.
They're trying to save money to go to California, but it's hard to make money.
Fair enough.
And so, but it also talks about like what it is to live in a reservation, what the health system is there, the casino culture, what it is to be an Indian, all that other stuff. Hysterically funny, really sweet, great young cast. A couple of them are like actually in their 20s, but they play teenager very well. Yeah. Some people like Wes Studi show up in it. Like there's a few.
Studi's great.
Yep.
Magua.
He shows up in it. So there's
Magua's heart is twisted or whatever. So my dad used to always tell me.
And
for the Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, and
when the dad kills him. And one of the best ass whoopings I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh yeah,
it's good. Anyway.
And so Wes Studi shows up. Like it's also the showcasing of like, hey, these are some Native American actors who are really great. They get to show up.
Is Eric Schweig in it?
I don't know.
Also known as Injun Joe from Tom and Huck.
Oh my God,
that's also in Last of the Mohicans. He's the son that gets thrown off the mountain.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't thought about Tom and Huck in a minute. That was a regular VHS.
It's a great movie.
I might need to rewatch that sometime.
I'd be willing to bet money. He's in a movie with Tommy Lee Jones called The Missing, where he plays the Brujo, a Native American witch.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
There's I've been reading this book. Actually also been so the other creator is Sterling Harjo, and Sterling Harjo and Taika Waititi have worked. It's FX, but it's on Hulu.
Yeah, all of FX's stuff makes its way to Hulu. Yeah. I think
Zan McLaren is the cop. Gary Farmer, Kirk Fox, John Proudstar,
I know who that is.
Kimberly Guerrero.
Don't know who that is.
Macon Blair from all the
Yeah.
he's in it for an episode. He's not Native American, but he's in it. Garrett Hedlund shows up once.
Oh, good for him.
Wes Studi, as I mentioned. Bobby Lee shows up. He's great. He's the Asian doctor in town.
Yeah.
And this is only the first season. There's so much more to go. But this cast of 4 main characters are just so fun. Highly recommend it.
Sounds good. I want to check it out.
It's a breakout hit, and I love it.
The reason I pick on Taika Waititi is not because he's incapable of doing Heart. He was incapable of doing Heart in the biggest movie he ever did, which was Thor Ragnarok. Because Hunt for the Wilder People has a lot of heart in it.
And to this day, I think What We Do in the Shadows may be one of the funniest movies ever made.
Yeah, that too. I want to talk about a show.
I thought you were actually going to talk about the series for a second, which is also quite good.
I want to talk about a show that has won a bunch of Emmys and that wears its heart on its sleeve proudly, because it really took me by storm. I didn't think I was going to like it that much, and I've binged the entire thing in 2 days because I couldn't not stop watching it. Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot about it.
An incredible show.
I'm like, now I'm going to watch it.
Everyone says it's like, oh, it'll make you cry. It made me cry. And it made me cry in the best
And this is Jason
possible way.
Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis is one of the writers. He's one of the people who developed it. Him and like 3 other people. I think the guy who plays his assistant coach, because Ted Lasso was a skit that he did for NBC in like 2013 when they were doing it. They were getting all the Premiership soccer channels.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What happens if you send an American to coach a real English football team?" So he did a skit where he went to Tottenham and was like going to coach them, and he was been like. There'd be like a guy shanks the ball over the goal and misses it. He's like, "Whoa, 3 points," or whatever. And he goes, "No, it has to be in." They go, like, "Come on, man, you got to get it in there to get 3 points." Like, no, it's just 1 point. 1 point. He has no idea what he's talking about.
But he's got a lot of heart.
So they revamped this character. He rewrote the show around this character, where instead of being like an idiot, he is kind of an idiot, but not really. You know what? He's not an idiot. He's a person who's so optimistic it frustrates people who are upset with their lives. And then he infects you with his optimism. That's
kind of what I've heard about him. Is like that he's like the character we need right now in a cynical time.
I swear to God he is. Brett Goldstein is one of the producers on there as well, and he plays. He got an Emmy for Best Supporting Actor for Roy Kent. Because what happens is he is Jason Sudeikis' character is a American football coach or whatever, and he took a team. I think they might have been a college team or something. They weren't professionals, and he took them from being dead last to win like division champs or whatever. And then he got famous for doing a funny breakdance video when they won. And it's his breakdance. If you've ever seen SNL, he used to star on What's Up With That with Keenan.
Yes.
And he was the jumping man with the red jumpsuit, and he does that whole dance basically. I recognized it immediately. And he got offered to go over and be the head coach for AFC Richmond, which is a Premiership English soccer team in England or whatever. And the lady who owns the team is going through a horrible divorce. It is like her husband, who was, she'd been with for years, who was a billionaire, left her and had sex with a bunch of hotter, younger women. And she's having a lot of trouble. It is Hannah Waddingham, I think is her name.
Oh, yeah.
She is the shame woman from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah. And she won an Emmy, too, for Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
They won it for Best, I think, New Series, and I think they won one for Writing as well. So basically all the big things or whatever, except for like Best Actor or whatever, which I honestly think Jason Sudeikis might deserve the Best Actor for this one as well.
Yeah, I know it's gotten a lot of
Yeah. So, and she brings him over there to make the team fail, because she hates her ex-husband, and this is the thing he loved the most.
This is
she
vengeance.
wants it to fail. And the first thing he does when he comes over is he's like one of these. I got to show you some clips of it when we're done, because like it's a performance that in the hands of a lesser actor could easily fall apart. Like keeping yourself that chipper and having that many dad jokes and dadisms could just really grate on your nerves, and they never do. Like one of my favorite jokes is like, when I came over here, like I was always like, when I would always have coffee. I was never a tea drinker, but I'll try tea. I was always worried it was going to sound like, or it was going to taste like brown leaf water. And I can say I was right. No, thank you. When he hands it right back, to her or whatever. Like he just has a bunch of stuff that are just like that.
He's just very kind of,
And he is thrust into this team, and the team did not do well last year. Even in his first press conference, they let him fucking have it. An American coming to teach the people that made soccer, the world's most popular sport, they're not having it. They're giving him a bunch of questions or whatever, and he takes them all right on the chin or whatever, and he has to give them, and he gives them like there's things that would be cliche about him that are so deeply moving, which is like, he goes, last time you guys lost a hell of a lot more than you won. And he goes, hey, we might lose a hell of a lot more than we win this year, but I don't consider victory how you win on the field. It's how you walk off the field or whatever. And a lot of people are like, oh God, we're gonna lose again or whatever. There's one guy named is it like Troy Graham or whatever his name is? There's a really snooty British guy from the Independent or whatever who is their sports critic, and he's a big critic or whatever, and he asks him, is like, so you're a guy who's never coached any sport professionally coming over here to coach one of our premiership teams. He goes, I just have one question. Is this a fucking joke or whatever? And everyone just starts laughing at him or whatever. And he handles it as well as he can. But the second he gets off the plane to the stadium, they thrust him into the press conference. Oof. He does it on purpose to make him look like an idiot.
He's in an antagonistic situation.
Yeah. And he never lashes. That's not true. He does lash out once or twice at people. There's a great scene later, which in order to like fuck him again, she schedules a one-on-one profile on him from that guy from the Independent, and he follows him around all day. And what he does is he makes gristly Brett Goldstein, who is the most genteel, sort of soft-spoken man, who plays fucking Roy Kent, the man who swears, and he talks like, "Stop fucking with Nate!" Like he's like a real foul-mouthed. He is. Once upon a time, he was one of the best players in the league. Mm-hmm. He played for Chelsea like 8 years ago, and now he's a little over the hill or whatever, and he sees the end of his career approaching him, and he's not dealing with that very well.
Right.
But he's the team captain. He's the guy who everybody looks to. In fact, one of the things he does is he gives everybody a book as a gift. Different people, he gives different things. One guy he gives the Kite Runner. He's a surprisingly like well-read and cultured individual. He knows every reference to everything somehow. And to him, he gives A Wrinkle in Time or whatever. And during this one-on-one profile where he takes him to a school where him and Roy Kent, he made Roy Kent promise to show up, where they play football with the kids or whatever and teach them how to do headers or whatever. And at the end of it, he takes this pish-posh reporter, and he takes him to this restaurant from the guy who drove him from his Uber to the stadium, who he already made friends with or whatever. And he went to his restaurant, and he goes, I'll tell you what, why don't you just give me what your dad gives, or what his favorite meal is. And he goes, all right. And he goes, I don't think you understand. Like, this is a proper Indian restaurant. Like, this is going to be very spicy. And he brings it out there, and he has one bite, and he's like, oh God. Like, he realizes what's going to happen. And he goes, I can't eat that. And he goes, well, just give it to me. Put it over here. And like, he comes by, he's like, it's so good. He eats all of it because he's a fucking mensch or whatever.
He's like, yeah.
And then the guy leaves, and as they get up to leave or whatever, he's like, do you think you're gonna do a good job, like in the premiership or whatever? And he's like, well, we're gonna do the best we can or whatever. And he goes, I would like to personally thank you for taking the time to come out and talk to me and follow me around and write your story about me. And he goes, you really mean that, don't you? Like, he doesn't have a bad bone.
Right.
In his body.
He's like, you're not for show. You've got nothing. It's all completely.
And he writes the article, and the owner of the team, this woman, is furious because she writes the thing, and he goes, a lot of people may have written off Ted Lasso when he came here as a fool. And he goes, he is a fool or whatever. And then he goes, he's the kind of fool that will unabashedly make you embarrassed that you're not a better person or whatever. And he goes, he's the kind of person that takes time out of his day to go visit, school kids who haven't had a member of their hometown's football club visit them ever or whatever. He's the kind of person that will eat ridiculously spicy food only so that he doesn't insult the person who served it to him. And he goes, he will undoubtedly lose this season. It's like, but I will not be cheering when he does or whatever. And it's just like, she's like, damn it. Like,
he's an angel.
He gives Roy Kent A Wrinkle in Time. Or whatever, and he goes, well, I was reading this book for. What am I supposed to do? He takes it, and he's like, the journalist sees him give it to him, whatever. It's a beautiful story about a young woman who has to grow into her role as a leader or whatever. And then as he's reading it one day, because there's a superstar on the team named Jamie Tart, and they turn his name into Baby Shark whenever he scores a goal. Jamie Tart.
That's very
It's funny.
That's very soccer.
Yeah. And there is a young man who works on the team. He's like the guy who washes the towels and gets the Gatorades or whatever. And he's a very nice guy.
He's Waterboy.
Yeah, or something. There's a name for it, Kit Man or whatever. And Jamie Tart and his two goons are always picking on him, whatever. And Roy Kent confronts Ted Lasso. He's like, you need to put a stop to this. He's a good kid. You're going to let him get walked all over. And he goes, well, I know that if, one thing I learned in school is if the teacher helps out the kid getting picked on, he only gets picked on worse. And he goes, so you're not going to do nothing? He's like, nope. And he leaves. And then as Roy Kent's reading Wrinkle in Time, he goes, fuck! And he realizes he has to be
do
the leader.
something.
And he throws it down and he walks down to the club and he headbutts one of them and he goes, stop fucking with Nate! Or whatever. And that's just the first 2 episodes. There is I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot I want to find out.
Because you need to watch the show because we have to do an episode on it. There is a scene with Roy Kent. There's a great little chant they do whenever Roy Kent's on the field, which is he's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. Roy Kent, or whatever. And there's a part in the game where he has his last walk-off. This is the last game he'll ever play or whatever. And there's a part where he goes into the locker room, and it's all dark. And this is where I think, I love sports movies, but some of them are cliche. This movie wears every cliche a sports movie ever did with such – it's not a movie, it's a show. With every ounce of earnestness it can muster, and none of it feels fake or unearned or feels like you've been manipulated by a swelling up score. He sits down, and he starts to cry because he realizes, and I started to cry. I'm getting choked up right now talking about it because he realizes this is the last time he'll ever play the game that he loves. He fucked up his knee real bad or whatever, and he limps off. And the girl that he's been talking to throughout the show, who they've been slowly starting to like each other, comes in and he tells her get out. Get the fuck out, because he feels really vulnerable.
Right.
And
I don't want you to see this.
She doesn't do it, and she slowly comes over and sits next to him, and I wept because it's so
tender,
incredibly tender and beautiful. There's a, and I can't help but separate the show from Jason Sudeikis, who went through a brutal divorce with Olivia Wilde, who left him for a younger man. It looks like with Harry Styles or whatever.
Oh God, yeah.
There is a scene with his wife because one of the reasons he came over to England was because he needed to give his wife space because she was feeling smothered by him or whatever. And there's a part where she finally comes to visit and he goes, "It's okay. I'm gonna let you go," saying she wants him to divorce him, or she wants him to divorce her or whatever. They've got a kid together, and it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's every ounce of the show is so earnest and about how he makes these players who have all these problems better people. And that's his job. That's my job as a coach.
Yeah.
It's not to win the games, it's to make sure that they are the best versions of themselves. And that is exactly, and the only thing I could take away from it.
And it's kind of like we have to glean that this leads to success because it's it worked before.
Yeah, and he starts to win as well. But he doesn't, he doesn't win the championship or anything, but he starts to there's he posts a crooked poster of the word believe. Someone was messing with him, telling him no, one side's too low, and they made him clearly do it to where it was crooked. He's like, is it straight now? He's like, no, it's straight now. He's like, oh, looks crooked. But if you say it's straight, I'll believe you or whatever. He leaves it up there or whatever. And then Jamie Tart is a really great football player, but he's selfish. Never passes, and he never works in tandem with other people. And when he scores a goal, he points to the name on the back of his jersey. It's like, this is me, I did this, or whatever. He takes him out of the game, and he takes one of the defenders from Nigeria that he picks on, and he puts him up front. And he does a play that the Kit Man, the Gatorade kid, the water boy, told him about that they could try, and they do it, and they win. But right before, they're one down at halftime, whatever, and he walks in, and he tells them, this is the first time he really tries to coach, to do a strategy that changes the way they play the game or whatever from how they usually do it. And they're Roy Kent's happy. The rest of them are kind of befuddled. He's like, we're going to run Nate's play. It's going to be great. And he goes, everybody look at me. I want you to hear me when I say this. And then he goes over and he slaps the word believe as he goes into his office. And that's the last thing. And they win the game or whatever. And it's a great fucking show, dude.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. We got these are good recommend. What's it on?
It's on Apple TV.
Okay, that's right.
You can get a free 7-day trial if you ever want to watch it.
Yeah, I do.
The episodes are only about 30 minutes.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty usual prime time affair.
It's very funny. Like, there's lots of different types of great jokes. There's a bunch of visual gags. Like one of them is that Roy Kent is a big scary man that scares everybody, which is weird because Brett Goldstein in his speech, and he was on Jimmy Kimmel and stuff. Like he's such a genteel looking man. Not looking man. He looks like he'd be rougher than he is, but he's like
he's a very soft.
Yeah, he's a very soft kind of. He's a big softy or whatever. I think that's what he is in the show. Is as he was writing the show, because he's one of the writers on it, he was realized, I think I'm Roy Kent or whatever, and
I've come to a realization.
And he sent everybody some audition tapes of him doing it. And like, yeah, there's no point in us looking for anybody else. You can do it, or whatever. And but like, there's a bunch of great parts where Roy Kent has to learn to like let go of his toxic masculine. There's a big thing throughout the whole show of like Jamie Tartt's dad is a monster, like really to him, and he constantly takes advantage of his son or whatever. And there's a part where he stands up to him and it really hurts him like emotionally to do it, and Roy Kent just gives him a big old hug and he starts to cry because he's been holding it in his whole life because his dad's an asshole. And like there's a big thing in the show about leaning on the people that love you,
right?
And like
I've heard,
and
that
getting rid of like your any
about.
toxicity you have inside you. There's even a part where a person confesses a bunch of bad stuff that they've done to Ted, and he just goes, "I forgive you," and it's over like that. And they're like, "What?" It's like, "I forgive you." Like it's done. Like they're like, and it makes you. It's like the thing about. It reminds me of like Superman, how like the biggest thing Superman does is he reminds us that if he can be brave in the face of something so big and scary, like a big bad guy or something, that maybe you could be brave in the face of something a little smaller.
Yeah.
That's what the show, that's what the show does for me. It makes me want to be better. And like, I think it does that for everyone who watches it.
Well, that's great.
It's a great show. I can't say enough good about it.
3 well-hearted comedies.
And it got
with
nominated
a lot
for
more.
like 20 Emmys.
Yeah, everyone needed it right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it for sure.
You should. And the shows go by at a real clip. I was worried during like the first couple episodes. I was like, I wish there was more sports. It doesn't seem like we spend a lot of time watching the games. That kind of evens out as we go. We get to actually see them on the field competing, because it started to feel like, is this just a bunch of actors pretending to be sports players and then they're not ever going to play sport, and then they actually start doing it? So I was like, that would really upset me somehow. But no, they actually do start doing that as well.
Well, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is The Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like to talk about movies but don't want to be too smug about it. I've been Rob.
I've been Matt.
And you can catch us on Podbean and YouTube and Apple Podcast, iTunes / Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook. We can actually start posting podcasts on Facebook.
Facebook's
there.
doing some new stuff.
So you should see some new clips and stuff. There. So check us out on all those things. Like us, follow us, subscribe us, leave
us comments.
My burp.
Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want us to do. Show us some love.
Yeah, leave
show
comments.
Show some hate.
Show some hate.
Show some feeling.
Yeah, and
we love you.
Next episode will be Shang-Chi. Probably.
Yeah.
And then probably Bond.
Yep.
And a bunch of other stuff. It's all happening at once. I think, doesn't Dune come out this month?
Well, we're not even in October yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This will be out in October.
Yeah, but Dune comes out in October.